We are on Parak Aleph, Mishnah Beis, Halacha Beis. Here it's slightly differently. You have that? Ain't posting, yeah. Hammered Beis. For some reason I marked last week's tape wrong. I went and marked this Hey up, wishful thinking. Oh, no, hey. Okay. So, we are on the second Mishnah in the Masechta. Ein posting Peah Mishishim. We'll take one of these actually before we start the Mashbiach, because we're going to use it a couple of times tonight. Ein posting Peah Mishishim. This is the rabbinic shiur. Ein posting Peah Mishishim. You don't give any less than a 60th of your field for Peah. Even though they said hypothetically there is no shiur for Peah. If you go to La Soda, you should give even above a 60th based on the size of your field, Ufi Aniyim, and based on the amount of poor people, Ufi Anova, and based on your humility, literally, but here it means your righteousness, right? Tani we learned, we don't say to a poor people, oh yeah, sure, bring your camels and take as much as you can. Right? We don't tell the poor people that you can come and hog it up. We don't give them suggestions which are going to allow them to be more, more aggressive in collecting their Peah. Masnisa b'yeser mikashir. That which the Brisa said that we don't tell them to be aggressive is when there's more than a shiur. In other words, when there's so much, now that I see it now, I realize that this doesn't make exactly sense the way I learned it before. Let me just think this through. One second.
Well, how do they even know that this?
Well, they know it's a large field. They know there's a lot of Peah to be had here.
They know which part of the field is theirs.
Well, they come and they see that there's a Peah left there. Obviously, that's the thing. The only thing which is left standing is the Peah. So I think this is the way we learn. We don't say to the ani, take camels and take away. Masnisa, that story about B'yeser B'kashir, we're afraid that as a result he's going to take more than the allotted amount. Avo Kashir, however, if he's working in order to take the amount which is allotted, in other words, up to the amount, whatever the Baal Bas left, either a 60th or more than that, the Baal Bas is a good person. So we say to the Ani, yes, you go and take camels and bring it. So when do we tell the Ani not to take camels? When we're afraid that as a result he's going to come in and take much larger amounts than he should. But we're not afraid of that because this person who left either there's a large amount there because there's a big field, or the person who gave us very magnanimous, so there's a big measure. So in that case, we even tell the Ani, yes, in order to make your collection more effective, you can come and use camels in order to take away the stuff. In our day and age, it would be comparable to using a pickup truck or something like that. Okay? So if he has a large field and very few poor people are in the area, nonetheless, no single piece of that you should give based on his field, which means you should give more. Vice versa. If he has a small field and there are a lot of aniyim, you should also give more based on the amount of poor people who are present in the vicinity. Rabbi Shimon argued on this, and he explained both things as a kula for the Baal Bayis, to a leniency to the owner. How so? So if he has a large field and very few poor people, no sinlefi aniyim, then he gives basically amount to poor people. In other words, he can give less. But if he has a small field, even though there are many poor people, again, no sinlefi sadeh was entitled to give based on his own field, which would be in this case also less. Okay? Our Mishnah does not say that. Our Mishnah says, Ela kolafi goydela soda, everything based on the size of the field, ulefi aniyim, based on the poor people, ulefi anova, based on the tzidkos. So in other words, you don't try and look at it as Rabbi Shimon did l'kula by saying, well, as little as you can get away with based on the scenario or based on the situation. Rather, you should try and give as much as you can, whether it be from the field, from the aniyim, or so on and so forth. Okay? Halacha gimel. No seem
just from the 160th, that's all.
What? No, 160 is a minimum. Above that, so we're saying you should try and be give more, especially if he has a large field, so he can give more than 60th because it doesn't cost him that much more, right? He's got plenty more than he needs anyway. Mm-hmm. Okay? Halacha gimel. No steam peah mitchilas, so you give peah from the beginning of the field, umeam saw from the middle of the field. Rabbi Shimon Omer, that's all Tanakama. Rabbi Shimon says, wait a minute, that's only vachitin besof kashir. It's interesting, Rabbi Shimon holds that peah means you leave at the end. Corner. Right, so you can't, if you can only give at the beginning or end, if you also have it at beginning or middle, if you also leave at the end. You can't just say, okay, I'll leave a corner at the beginning and that'll be my peah, or I'll give a corner in the middle and that'll be my peah. You have to leave at the end. That's according to Shimon. Well, Tanakama seems to argue. Tanakama seems told you can give on any side of your field. It doesn't matter whether it's the beginning, I shouldn't say side of your field. In any part of the process of the harvesting, whether it's the beginning, the middle, or the end, that can be peah. It's not necessarily mandated that it be the last, few sheaves in your stalks in your field. Rabbi Yehuda says it depends. If you left, now let's carefully analyze the difference between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbi Yehuda. Shimon says vachite besof kashir. At the end of the field, you have to have a shiur, which is a 60th. The Rabbanan, right? The Raisa. There is no shiur. We said at the beginning of the Masechta. At the end, you have to have a shiur, right? So far, so good. That's Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda says you don't have to have your full shiur at the end of the field. You don't have to have your full amount. However, in shiur kelach echad, if you left one stalk standing at the end of your field, somech lo mishum peah, anything before that is considered to be peah as well. Okay, as long as one stalk was left over at the end, everything else is peah. It's interesting. It's almost the opposite of what we said at the beginning of the Masechta. It's not a contradiction. The Masechta, at the beginning of the Masechta, we said, when is it considered to be a harvest that you become a chuyev in peah? After you harvest one stalk. What's he saying here? How much, of your field do you have to leave as peah? One stalk is the minimum, right? Need a raisa. Once you left that one stalk, which is minimum the raisa, at the end of your field, then everything which you gave previously can be peah as well. However, what happened if you didn't make the end of your field peah, right? You didn't leave even one stalk at the end, then there's no peah on that field. Anything else, even which you left to the aniyim previously, ain't no nice and el mishum hefker. It's only status cannot be considered peah. It can only be considered hefker. Now hefker is also parted from trumas and maasros. But what's the difference between hefker and peah? One very easy difference. Anybody could take it. That's right. Not just aniyim, even ashirim could take it. So in that case, he was mevatel the mitzvah of peah, not in all of his field. Either it's hefker or it's chayiv and trumas and maasros, but he can't make it peah anymore. Peah no longer can be. Okay. Says Rabbi Yossi b'shem Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. You've got it, Yankel?
Yeah.
Rabbi Yossi says the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish. Ubekutzachem. It says when you harvest. Matam lomer liktzor. Why does it say again after that liktzor? El afilu yesh lo kama liktzor. Even if you have a lot left to harvest, you can still leave peah, which sounds like Tanakama, right? Tanakama says even at the beginning, even if you have kama, several or a bunch or a significant amount left to harvest, you can still give peah from the beginning of your field by itself. So that's how I believe Rabbi Yossi in the name of Shimon Lakish is explaining Tanakama. It says when you harvest, what does it say? You harvest again, it's an extra word. It means to tell you, even if you have a significant amount left to harvest, nonetheless, that whatever you give is peah, even from the beginning of the field, that's already considered to be peah. Okay?
Is the middle of the field considered to be better quality than the...
I don't think so.
at the end?
No, I don't think so. I think it's nothing to do with quality. I think just
Depends
we're
on the
looking at
field.
the Xeris code, yeah, but it's nothing to,
Depends on the field.
there's no uniform, quality throughout. Depends really, we're really looking at more at the location, right, based on the concept of corners and remnants. Says the Gemara, that's one drasha. Rabbi Yerushalmi Peah said, "Uvekutzachem, ma'atam ulomar liktzor, ela echad b'tchila ve'echad b'sof." It's both at the beginning, whether it's at the beginning or at the end, it makes no difference. Now, I'm not sure if there's any difference. It's not clear if there's any difference between the two drashas. Right, one drasha said that afilu yesh lo kama liktzor, even if you have some amount left, and the other says bein b'tchila bein b'sof, it doesn't matter when you give the peah. I believe so. That sounds like it's the same thing. I believe the Mashbiach does say something here. If you take a look here in the Mashbiach, I gave it out to you on page Chafei, which is the backside of the first page. He says on the third line down on the right, fourth paragraph down on Chafei. No, flip the page. Fourth paragraph down on Chafei, the backside of the page. Okay, so he says there. You see that paragraph? See that, Yankel? Yeah. So he says, some people reading in the Rashi print, some people have the gears here, kama. Kama meaning standing stalks. Which means he still has stalks left to harvest. A girsa amitis, the true girsa, he bekama bekaf. Shalav dafka b'sof aktsira. It doesn't mean specifically at the end. So he doesn't really change it. He just says there's another girsa which is with a kuf. He says that the proper girsa is with a kaf. Makes no difference. The bottom line is that both these drashas, Yerushalmi and Lakish, are explaining why you can give even from the beginning of the field or the middle, not just from the end.
Would it be easier for the Ali in the beginning?
It's certainly easier if it's one location, which is probably at the end. At the end.
Oh, at the end?
Yeah.
But they have to go through the whole field with their camel.
Well, that's true, but the end really doesn't work. It's not. There were many fields, right? It's not a one-way street. That's right. Okay. Says Gemara, Suzuga Ran Vav Amud Aleph. We are where it says Rabbi Yosef Shem Rabbi Yerushalmi Levi. Rabbi Yosef's name is Yerushalmi Levi. L'kutzachem, same drasha. Mata mulom liktzor, but he learns from the outside of it. Mata mulom liktzor. What does it mean liktzor? An additional word. Same drasha, new import, different message which he learns from this drasha. It means whether you're harvesting for chulin or you're harvesting for hektish, it's the same thing. Says Mara, whoa. You mean if you're harvesting for hektish, you also have to give peah? What kind of business is this? Says the Gemara, Rabbi Yudan boy klumo hektish mischalim ela betolush shema b'mechubar. When does the way the Ritbaz here explains it? There's no scenario in which you're going to be harvesting a hektish field in which the grain is not hektish. Since that's the case, at best, when could it become chulin? Only after you harvest it and redeem it. So if that's the case, you can never be chayiv in peah. How can you be chayiv in peah? Peah has to do with chulin, your fields, not hektish's fields. So even if you redeem it after it's harvested, it's already too late to be chayiv in peah. So therefore the Gemara is asking, how can you possibly have a drasha on Vav Amud Aleph? Here's a Vav Amud Aleph. 2 lines at the bottom. Let me read that over again. 3 lines at the bottom. Rabbi Yehuda boy klumos hektish mischalim el betolush. Is there any other time when you can redeem the money of hektish unless it's redeem the grain of hektish unless it's harvested, and by the time it's harvested, then it's no longer suitable, obviously, to be a kampeah anymore. You think you can harvest, you can redeem it when it's attached to the ground? You can't. It belongs to hektish then. Okay, so it says more Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina said it's the Rabbanan. Shelo tomar yaseh kotir hektish kekotir hedyot. Don't say that kotir hektish Here it's like a lashon saginor. It's like we're saying it opposite. Literally means don't say hektish. Kotzer hektish is like kotzer hediot. What it really means is don't say kotzer hektish is any worse than kotzer hediot. No, we're just like a common. You're buying. You have to understand the scenario. This field belongs to the Bedek HaBayis. Belongs to the treasury of hektish. You're harvesting it. Your contract. I don't know if your contract is the right word. You're paying to harvest it in order to redeem it afterwards, and it should be your grain. So says the Gemara that you have to leave pay. Hi, it's not yours right now. It belongs to Hekdesh. Hekdesh is exempt unless since you are using it and you're going to eventually, since you're harvesting it, you're eventually going to redeem it. You're eventually going to redeem it, so therefore you have to leave the pay from the field. Now,
from what you're going to give.
Excuse me?
You can accept the.
No, so things like this. The pay. No, you can't. No, because then he would have the problem with Elah. No, he's got to pay. The harvester, has got to pay for everything.
Here's what I thought from the beginning.
Yeah.
The 1/60th bit,
Yes.
You would exempt that from the victuals that you contributed to Hektish. No?
No, you can't exempt it. That's exactly the point I'm saying. You can't exempt it because then.
When we started out.
No. You can't exempt it. That's the point. The thing is, you have to pay for it, so it'll be redeemed, and at the same time, you have to leave it to the poor for the poor people. Okay. Now that's the way, basically the way the Rid Basler, although not quite the way the Rid Basler. It's a little bit of variation, but the Mashbiach learns a totally different pshat. He says, which is a cool pshat. He says, that's why I gave him the Mashbiach, but I'll tell it to you outside. He says, the pshat is like this. Let's do it again. Rabbi Yosef Shem, Rabbi Shimon ben Levi. No, I'll just read it out in the Gemara. Rabbi Yosef Shem, Rabbi Shimon ben Levi, the fifth line from the bottom. You have it? Rabbi Yosef Shem, Rabbi Shimon ben Levi? Rabbi Yosef Shem, Rabbi Shimon ben Levi. Yeah, I'm going to read it like the Mashbiach now. Uvekutzorchem. Matam l'omer liktzor. No, Mr. Zuri, you have a different print. Don't look at his Gemara.
Okay.
You have a different print. Matam, we're on Vav Amrav. Matam l'omer liktzor el echol l'gavah ve'echol lehediot. It means that both for gavah and for hediot, I might think that when you I'm not sure how he learns the Havamina. Let me just make sure I can say it over properly. He says, no, he really starts his pshat from Rabbi Chanina. So Rabbi Yosef Shem B'Shub Levi, he learns the same way. You have to leave payah. Rabbi Yudan boy klum mos hektish mischalin. Rabbi Yudan asked, is it possible to say that mos hektish or mischalel are most hektish and mischalel a little bit tolish? Only if once they're harvested, shem mechubar. So obviously you should have to leave payah because it's mechubar. Because when it's mechubar, it's still hektish, and you shouldn't have to leave payah on hektish. So it says more, Amar B'china, because it's Mashbiach Pshat. Mashbiach Pshat is, Shalot Tomar Yasa Kotzer Ektish Kotzer Hediot means, from Kutzer Chem we learned at the beginning of the Masech, there's a very cute Pshat, he says, not like you learned till now. You want to say, Kutzer Chem teaches you that even from Hektish you have to lose payah. No! The Drasha doesn't teach you that. The Drasha teaches you that don't think that when you start to harvest a field for the Kotzer Omer, right? There's a halacha, you have to cut the omer the second day of Pesach to bring it, right? So I might say, you started cutting the omer, now that field becomes chayv and pale. It was not brought from a hektish field, the omer, it was brought from a chulin field. So that's our shaila. You started harvesting the field for the purpose of hektish, omer, right? For the purpose of omer, but it's a chulin field. Are you mechuyev then from that time in pale? So that the Gemara says no. Gemara says, Amar Achina Shalo Tamar Yasa Kotzer Hektish Kotzer Hediot. Don't say that Kotzer Hektish like is Kotzer Hediot. When does a field become Chayiv and Peah? Only b'Kutzerchem. When you start cutting it for Chulin purposes. When you start cutting it for Hektish purposes, at that point it doesn't yet become Peah. Okay? It doesn't yet become B'Chuyiv and Peah. Okay? You're looking at me funny.
Well, it's
really,
yes, I get it.
He's sort of squeezing a shot of the words here.
That's right. But that's hey, it's Yerushalmi. That's what we do here.
Bavli also.
Yeah, that's right. If you would be with us for Krisos in the morning, you'd find that we do the same thing in the Bavli. It's just that in Bavli, we're not in Noshim the Zikin Masechtas. It doesn't happen so often, but in the rest of Shas it does. Okay, now he brings down another case to be if you're cut for the Shtei Alechem or Bikurim, all these things. He says that there's no there's no Chiyuv Peah from that time. All right, Vavam base Rishoina Mao. Yeah, this is a new issue, new question. We're asking at first, Mao, what's the halacha? Now, what do we mean by this? If you take a look here in the, it says here, in the Pnei Moshe, in the second line down, Pnei Moshe. You don't have Pnei Moshe. Okay, I'll say it slowly. Rabbi Shimon Kabai, according to Rabbi Shimon's asking a question. Rabbi Shimon says, remember, you weren't here yet. Remember, the Mishnah says, according to Rabbi Shimon, that in order to something to be peah, you must leave at the end of your field. You can't leave in the middle of your field. That's the dafka be at the end of the field. Okay? Once you left at the end of your field, he says you have to leave a shiur at the end of the field. So what about the stuff which he left? In other words, he left a chveis. At the end of the field of Taki, he left a 60th. In the middle of the field, he left another 60th, another additional 60th. Does that have a din of pay or not? He left at the end. He's mechuyev to leave at the end. What about? No. So that's so you're in good shape here. We shut him out. Mimad Tani, from that which it says, actually not in good shape. I apologize. Well, we're going to see. Mimad Tani.
To him, he could contribute more than that.
No, then you're saying yes. You're saying it does have a din of pay.
No, what I'm saying is, he has to give a 60th.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to give more, then he can give the rest of it too.
Yeah, but the question is whether he has to give all that more. That's true, he can give more than 60, but you have to give it all in the same general location at the end of the field. Or can he even give the middle of the field, the beginning of the field? Rabbi Shimon said you have to give dafka at the end of the field. So what if you ended up giving your more, you were magnanimous, you gave more, but you gave them more at the beginning of the field, the middle of the field, does that work? You see the question?
Yes.
Okay, so it says Gemara, Rishona Mao, Mimadatani, so let's learn out from that which it says, Tosefta, Harezu Peah, it says that whatever you left previously, this is the price expanding on Rabbi Shimon's Shita, amplifying Rabbi Shimon's Shita. It says that whatever you left in the middle is Peah. And at the end you have to add on an additional shiur. Hadar Marah, this teaches us, Kacha Mishum Peah, that anything you leave even earlier is Peah. As long as you left at the end of your field the proper shiur, whatever you had added earlier in your field, that also has the status of Peah. Says the Gemara, Mao. What's Adama Kachimishim Peah, right? Mao Kashir Kol Sadeu. Now, ask the Gemara, what amount are we talking about? Are we talking about the shiur of his entire field? O Kashir HaMishtayer, or like the shiur of what is left? Now, this is talking about if you take a look in the Ridbaz. Ridbaz, you don't have the Ridbaz either, huh? Ridbaz says, right. Peishim tzorach litem basof al kol sadeh. Does he have to give at the end of his field afilu al chelak apeh shenosin b'tchila, even on the amount of pay which you give at the beginning? Tzorach litem pei oleh. In other words, you gave a chveis, you want to give a 60th, right, of your entire field. You gave already from the beginning of your field a 120th. Now, at the end of the field, the Yitaka have to give still a 60th, and we did just ignore what he gave previously, or you only have to give now 1/120th in order to make up together the shiur peah, right? Olo, dafka l'shar tzarich litein or apam. You only have to give on what's left. Aval chelak apeh lo. But on that which is already paid, you don't have to give any more. Lo mi the tzarich litein gam oleh. They have to give also corresponding to that. The leheve, don't think of it, kain truma v'yachsav yitrum, like cases which we have in Shas that says, whatever you give is truma, and you still have to give truma or more. Umasika Gemara, the Gemara concludes. So now, let's see the Gemara's conclusion. We don't have to see it in the Ridbaz, let's see it inside. We're on the fourth line down. Efshar, Efsher lomar kodsha mishum peah. The tema shiur kol kosa. What was the lashon of the brisa? Lashon of the brisa is that whatever you gave earlier is kodsha mishum peah. Now, the brisa kodsha is a very, how should I put it? A very no, on the contrary. What? It's a very clear language. Not just clear, condoning language. That's what I meant to say. In other words, were we to have held that the payer you gave at the beginning, which is not at the end of the field, is excess, is superfluous, is improper, because he has to give the full shiur at the end anyway. So I wouldn't say that kodsha mishum peah. To say it has the sanctity, which is a funny lashon to use by payer to begin with. But to say it has the sanctity of Peah, that clearly indicates that it became part and parcel of the shiur of Peah. And therefore, at the end of the field, you don't have to give the full 1/60th. Rather, you only add on that which you did not give earlier in the field. Okay? The language of Kodsha Mishum Peah is a very significant language to us. Is that clear? Okay? So again, let's see that inside. Efshar Lomar, Kodsha Mishum Peah, because the Brisa used the language, a condoning, praising language of Kodsha Mishum Peah, that it's holy because of Peah. B'tema kashir kol stand, you say you have to leave over like the shiur of your entire field. Ela kashir amishtayer, you only have to leave over at the end of your field whatever's left to make up the 60th. Only the balance, not the full amount. Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Bear in mind, I want to reiterate this. Midoraisa, how much is Peah? How much you have to give? 1 stalk. One stalk. All this is the Rabbana. Okay? Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan b'mechuber. Rabbi Chia named Rabbi Yochanan said, now this is it's a very strange machlokas. Everybody has difficulty with this. Rabbi Chia's name Rabbi Yochanan said, it seems to be going to the previous Gemara. And Rabbi Chia's saying name Rabbi Yochanan, that pay which you have to leave at the end, the shiur which you have to leave at the end, is mechuber to the field. Rabbi Yasser b'shem Rabbi Yochanan says the pay you have to leave at the end in order to make up what you didn't yet give is even betolush. Is even if it's already harvested. Which is very strange because there's no such thing as peah which is already harvested. Once it's harvested, it's over. There's nothing to do anymore. So it says so I want to show you the Ridbaz here again. The Ridbaz is on the next page.
It's harvested, would it be
Only if he forgot it. You can't make intentional shikha. It don't work, right? You have to So the Ridbaz is 2 pshatim here. We want to show you the Ridbaz's second pshat. The Ridbaz's second pshat is on Zayin Amud Aleph in the Ridbaz, which is on the outer margin. Where does it start? Dilma. Dilma is in the last narrow line. I think that's beginning of the second pshat. Dilma Rabbi Yochanan. Yeah. Odilma, yeah. You see the Odilma Rabbi Yochanan. Now we're in the first of the medium lights in the Ridbaz. Odilma Rabbi Yochanan Lokar Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yochanan's not going Rabbi Shimon our Mishnah. These two opinions in name Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Chia named Rabbi Yochanan, which says Mechubar. Rabbi Yasib Shem Rabbi Yochanan said Betolish. They're not going Rabbi Shimon our Mishnah. It's a separate issue. The Yeshayar Kelach Echad, that you have to leave one stalk at the end of your field. You left this one stalk in the field, which is what not Rabbi Shimon said in our Mishnah, but the last opinion in our Mishnah was Rabbi Yehuda. As long as you have one stalk in the field, so everything else prior to that can be peah. Now, however, he didn't leave in the field the entire 1/60th. He didn't leave that. You only have this. I think I went back. And the question is, on the field, you didn't live the shiur. You didn't leave a 60th. You only left a minimum amount to pay, not a full 60th. We're not talking about whether you left the shiur in the field. Rak Peah. We're talking about in the Peah itself. Im shiur b'shir Peah, whether you left enough in the Peah. Although Ava Basara ain't medaber about shiur on the field, it's a little bit redundant what the Ritbaz is saying here. But in the field, the bottom line is you only left Rak HaKel Chazeh Nishar B'Sodeh. Only one stalk, skipping the parentheses. Came the Raisa Kasagi B'Kel Checha B'Sof HaSodeh. Midaraisa, one stalk at the end of the field is sufficient. V'hu Asaken, and he did it. V'ashir D'Midrabana Loik P'Dechachomim Ashir and Shir Tafka B'Sof HaSodeh. The one stalk at the end he did. The rest of the shiur of a 60th, the rabbis were makbid where you take it from. Whether you take it from the field there, next to the stalk, or whether you take it from somewhere else in the field. If you left Peah earlier in the field, and you left this stalk, one stalk at the end of the field, yotza. And you can even out later on from grain which you already harvested to make up your 60th. However, but if you didn't leave even one stalk at the end of the field, you weren't Yotze Midaraisa at all. You didn't leave anything at the end of the field. Even Midarabanan you weren't Yotze. There's nothing to do. You weren't Yotze Mitzvah Peah. Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Yasa b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan Tzvir lei b'mechubar. That's definitely connected. V'kai even Rabbi Shimon Shitin b'sof k'shir kol ha'peah b'mechubar. He's going back. He's saying that like Rabbi Shimon, you have to give the entire shiur on Peah as it's connected to the ground. V'ad kama Rabbi Yochanan shiur kelach echad. V'ad kama Rabbi Yehuda. That what Rabbi Yehuda said, shiur kelach echad. The even left one stalk. Kai ashir al shiur peah rishona. That it's only if you left enough in the first peah, says well, it's still connected to the ground. V'shir ashir b'soda b'soif, and then you left enough in the field with the I don't know. It's too. I thought I understood this, but now I'm not so sure I did. Rabbi Yasa b'shem Yochanan the Kala Kelch the Shir Kelch b'Zeb saw that Torah Shar b'Sov Rakel b'Shar b'Tosh. I think it's just saying, I thought he was saying something different than what I said before, but it's clear he's saying exactly the same thing, essentially the same thing. He's saying the difference is like this. There are two ways to look at this Gemara. The one way to look at this Gemara is to say that it's going on a case it's going on a case where. Well, actually, there are three ways to look at this Gemara. We don't know if this Gemara is going according to Ankama, according to Rabbi Shimon, according to Rabbi Yehuda. You can interpret this Gemara in all three. Tanakama holds you give Peah anywhere in your field. What if you forgot to give that Peah? Right? So Rabbi Chia said, Mechubar. You have to give the Peah in Mechubar. Rabbi Yas B'Shem Yochanan says even B'Tolush. If you forgot to give, you can even give B'Tolush. Then, that's one way of learning it. Another way of learning this Gemara is to say it's going in Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon says you have to leave the shiur at the end of the field. What happens? They didn't leave the shiur at the end of the field. So according to Rabbi Yochanan, nothing to do with Tafka has to be a mechubar. Rabbi Yosef b'shem Rabbi Yasef b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said, that was Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yasef b'shem Rabbi Yochanan says, no. As long as at the end of the field, you can't leave earlier in the field. But at the end of the field, where you have to leave, if you made the mistake and inadvertently left less than the shiur, so then you make it up by setting aside from Tolush. And the third way to learn this Machlokas has been that it's going in. What?
I don't like the Tolush.
Okay, the third way it's going in is in Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds even Kelach Echad is sufficient, right? But you must have a Kelach Echad at the end of your field, right? So in that, the Machlokas is, okay, now you have a Kelach Echad. The rest of the 60th, where do you get it from? Do you even get it from Mechubar, or can you get it from Tolush as well? Okay? So,
I thought that was the pshat in Reb Shimon. that Ubavachi came to Sofa Kashir,
No.
that the Kashir Doraisa was Besof, and the rest could be made up.
No, that's Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda holds a shiur the rice of a kelch at the end. Rabbi Shimon says you have to leave the entire 60th at the end. Okay, the nafkamina is, what's the nafkamina? Let's talk about what the difference is. Who cares? So the difference is, Peah, remember, is parted from Trumas and Maasros. As much as, and the Gemara is going to come back to that, as much as you leave a Peah is parted from Trumas and Maasros. The entire shiur the Rabbanan is parted from Trumas and Maasros, because it becomes Peah. So the question is, it can even make it have that status of Peah once it's Tolush, or it can only have the status of Peah when it's Mechubar. Okay? And that which you're making it up to, you make it up Dafka when it's Mechubar, or even when it's Tolush. And that which you're making up, right? When can you make it up, of course? Can you make it up earlier? Can you only make it up at the end? And so on and so forth. All these things are cruxes of the issue here.
The also matters whether you let the begin with. If you didn't even pay to begin with, then
Right. Then, according to that, according to Rabbi Yehuda, if there's no Peah left, then there's nothing to be mitzaref to. But the question is, what to be mitzaref it with? Bear in mind, that's what Rabbi Yehuda said in our Mishnah. If you didn't leave any Peah in Mechubar whatsoever, then everything, then there's not possible to have any Peah. It can only be considered hefker. Right. The clock never ticked. But the question is, if you didn't make the clock, it's ironic, there's a clock which ticks backwards. Because you're leaving what defines Peah is the kelach at the end of the field, right? But if you had that kelach at the end of the field, then there's a machlokas. What else can constitute Peah? Even the mechub, or even the tolush, like Rabbi Yasa said named Rabbi Yochanan, or only the mechubar, or that which is connected, like Rabbi Chia said named Rabbi Yochanan. Okay, what else can add up to the 60th? The truth is, I think now I'm saying it over, it works best in Rabbi Yehuda. The machlokas between Rabbi Yochanan and what Rabbi Yochanan said, whether he's saying whether like Rabbi Chia that he can add on to the last kelach ben mechubar only, or that you can add on according to Rabbi Yasa, even betolush, it's most glot if you go like it goes the smoothest if you hold the machlokas Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, now on Zayin Amud Aleph, according to most everybody, although not everybody, starts a new sukkah. That's the end. We brought down that machlokas. No two dots, right? But that's hey, that's life. So mamiskavin liftor sadeu olo. Now, I'm going to learn this like the Mashbiach. I don't know if it's 100% right, but he, again, as Mashbiach always does, he gets an A+ for creativity. So what the heck? We'll learn like the Mashbiach. Mashbiach says you can see it inside if you want. On Chaf Am and Alf at the bottom, but I'll read it in the Gemara. Ma. Miskavin lifter sadei olo. What's the halacha? Do you have to have kavana to leave Peah or not? Interesting. Interesting Shaila according to the Mashbiach. According to the Mashbiach, the Shaila is Peah automatic or is Peah dafka with kavana? And there are all sorts of ramifications of that. To be parted from Meiser. Now,
how's it different?
Okay.
Regular Shiloh.
What?
How would it be automatic?
No, because the question, what?
How could it be automatic? I mean, you have to consciously leave a corner of your field, or one stalk. So that's not automatic. You're making a conscious
Verbalization.
decision.
Verbalization would be the difference. Yeah. Or, let me give you another approach. Even though he used verbalization, but I'll tell you, he decided he left a patch and said, "I'll go back to that later." And he decides, you know what? It's there already. After he finishes, he's going to leave it as Peah. To begin with, he didn't have in mind to make it Peah. After the fact, he left it as Peah. Is that part from Trumas and Maisus or not? Do you need kavana to leave this as Peah? Or do you have to, even if you don't have kavana, at the end, you said, oh, forget it, I'll just leave it as Peah. Or you didn't verbalize it, so it's a part of it.
Why you shouldn't?
Why you shouldn't need kavana? You just said before, very, very good interpretation.
Well, this is good.
It's just good to kavana, yeah.
Don't we say that they don't?
Trumas and Maisus. Doesn't Trumas and Maisus need kavana?
There's a formula.
I heard the stutter. Yes.
There's a formula.
Okay. No.
Formula here too.
Yeah. Let's say it's a formula. Just like Truma Samaisa, you can't leave Truma Samaisa without Kavana, right? You have to say, this is Truma, this is Maisa. You can't just say at the end, oh, that's left, let that be the Truma. That's to say, Yachid that for Truma, right? So therefore, maybe by Peah, it's the same thing. By Peah, you have to say, be Yachid for Peah. Leave the Ma, Miskav, leave the Sodeolo. Nishmina Minato, let's run from this statement. Dom Rabbi Yasser, B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan. Lola Mumosi Poich. He can keep on adding and adding and adding. Modern Kaim, what are we talking about? Even Miskavin leaf Torah Sadeu, if it had a case where if you need Kavana to pot your field, so what do you mean keep adding? Whatever you had Kavana to put aside, if you said, oh, I'm going to set aside 1/60th, or get it set aside a 50th, or even a 40th, but that was your Kavana, how can you add on? You ready? Once you're Mafresh Peah, can't be Mafresh Peah a second time, right? So to be Mafresh Peah a second time, you only can do that Peah, no more. So if Kavana is an integral component of the mitzvah, it wouldn't be possible to say Mafresh V'Hoylech. You can't say that. Once you set aside, that's it. But you miskaven lifter say if you require Kavana, the part you feel kvar niftera. Elakiyon Kaimin, what are we clearly saying? B'sheinu miskaven lifter for Sodei. You don't need Kavana to patter up your field. Now, let me show you inside the Mashbiach, just in case you don't believe me, just in case I don't believe myself. Now, the bottom of Chafei is the last line. Bottom of Chafei in the Mashbiach. I think you all have copies of the Mashbiach. It's the flip side of the first page. So, Shoel, Ma. You see the question mark in the last line? Shoel, Ma. Yeah, the Gemara is asking what? Miskam leaf Torah Sadeu, O lo. Hainu imut tzorach Kavana leaf Torah Sadeu, do you require Kavana to patter your field? Oh, Eno Tzorach. You don't require Kavana. We'll push Rabbi Yochanan. We'll turn the page now. We'll push Rabbi Yochanan, and we resolve the question for Rabbi Yochanan. What? I just started from the last line. We'll push Rabbi Yochanan, and he goes off Rabbi Yochanan. He can keep on going. But man, I'm saying, what are you talking about? Imiskam litor say Domar. Hineni mechavin bezel liftor Yerushalmi Peah kvar niftura. You already was Yosef. Yosef lafsidas amaitzer. How can you keep adding on? Elo kiyonan kamin b'sheinu miskavin. What does it mean? Klomar shalom mar hineni point. Oh, too bad. That's what he's saying here. He's saying here. Listen, that's what he says here. Shema mina the tzricha kavana. Again, kiyonan kamin b'sheinu miskavin. The Gemara concludes he has to be a miskam klomar shalom mar hineni poter bezel Yerushalmi Peah. Shema mina the tzricha kavana. So it must be that's kavana. V'kol kamishlamah harezu lepeah. As long as he didn't say this is peah at the end, harezu moisivach afil yotzimi, because you can keep going more. Now it's interesting because it's not exactly like truma. By truma, you need kavana ahead of time to say this is truma. By peah, the kavana which you're trying to avoid is the kavana to say, oh, this is my cessation point. If you said this is my cessation point, this is where I'm stopping, I'm not giving more than this, then you have a problem. Because then you can't say anymore, oh, this should be for Peah, because you already said the meter started ticking the way the Mashbiach started. The meter started ticking for Meiser. When I said Peah up till here, the meter after that starts ticking for Meiser. So therefore says the Mashbiach, if you want to give as much Peah and be Meiser for Halech, the way you saw in the Gemara, it means you have to never enunciate or verbalize or think, that's it, that's the end of the Peah, because then the Meiser clock starts ticking. What you have to just do is keep on giving and giving and giving. So that's how we learned the Sugi here. Again, let's see that inside. Damar Nishmina Minado, let's learn from here. Damar Rabbi Yasser, B'Shem Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yasser's name is Rabbi Yochanan, Lo'elu M'Moisifel, he keep on going. Mana came and says the Gemara, wait a minute, what is it talking about?
You said most of Halach means he can
keep on giving Peah.
Keep on giving Peah, or not keep on cutting away at his.
No, keep on giving Peah. Keep on giving Peah. But you might some Peah. Manaka wait about even miskavin leaf Torah Sadeu. If you act about this is what's going to pass my field. Fine, if the Meiser meter started talking, started ticking. Elokiana Kaimina, what we're talking about here, B'Sheinu miskavin leaf Torah Sadeu has to be they didn't have kavanah at the Potter's field. In other words, the maskana is you do have to have kavanah on Peah, and the maskana is therefore if you have kavanah to say till here no more, then taka the rest of it can no longer be Peah, and therefore if you want to keep giving, you should never have in mind that up till here no more than that.
It's like a compromise, because must have kavanah to begin with, but it's open-ended until you say ad kan.
Right. So karma, right? It's not like truma. It's just, it's open-ended until you say ad kan. Very good. Okay, it's a very difficult piece. The Ridbaz goes to town on it. That's what?
As long as I'm conscious.
As long as you're conscious, it's okay. It wasn't so bad, but now it gets considerably easier. And this Yerushalmi was the last blot. It's a classic example of Yerushalmi where you can give any shot you want. If you sat here and looked at it for long enough, it's like good literature, Lahavdil. You can come up with all different pshatim. But, all right. The main thing is to get inspired by it and see what we can get out of it. Halach Dalet. Masnisin. Klal Amru Peah. They said a general principle of Peah. Koshu oichel, anything which is eaten, consumed, v'nishmar, and it can be preserved, as opposed to fruit or vegetables which rot. V'nishmar, which can preserve, v'gidula min haaretz, and grows from the ground. V'kitasu kachas, and you harvested one period of the year, as opposed to esrog, which is harvested successively throughout the year. Umachniso l'kiyum, and you can, I translate nishmar wrong. I apologize. Nishmar means that it's guarded as opposed to being overgrown and growing wild in the field. Machnisa l'kiyum means that you can preserve it. Okay, all these things are chayiv b'peah. What are these things? Fatua, grain, and kidneys and legumes are included in this. Ubi-ilan, some sort of a red, that has some sort of red fruit. I don't know exactly what it is. I don't think it's any of the fruits which are known to us. V'charuvin and carobs, sargozim nuts, ushkedim almonds, kifanim grapes, rimonim pomegranates, hazesim olives, vatmorim dates. All these things can appear because you can preserve them over time. When you harvest, it only teaches me when you harvest. Toilish, I know it's true even if you pluck. How we know that also is chayiv peah. Anything you do in the land, even plucking. What about trees? It says sodcha, and sodcha is an extra word, excess verbiage, teaches us even trees. Tani zorin now. Here comes an interesting passage. And it's messed up in the Gemara, of course, once you know the Ridbaz fixed the Girsa. Tani, we learned, zorin zroim, keep one finger on the Ridbaz, on the upper right-hand margin. One finger in the Gemara. Tani, we learned, zorin zroim, v'zirei eilon ke'echad. You can plant wheat kernels together with orange kernels, orange pits, in the same place. There's no kilayim between zroim of Elon and zroim of Adama. That's not kilayim. Okay? Zroim v'zir Elon ke'echad. V'adzoreya imar chartzonim. See, there's a Ridbaz change the gears a little bit. Somebody who plants together with grape pits, however, loke. You get malchus. Why? Because that is kilei hakerem, right? That's forbidden. Loke Arboim gets 40 lashes. Omar Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Zira said, Kesiv, it says, Sodcha, Pratli Lonos. Says Sodcha, your field, it excludes trees. Lo Sizra, Karmacha Kilayim. And then your field, you shouldn't plant full of kilayim. So, I'm sorry, the Sadcha, Pratli Lonos, it could say, rather it says Lo Sizra. What? Sadcha, Pratli Lonos?
I know what you're saying. I was like, this is the day.
Yeah. I was reading from the Ridbaz. I'm Rabbi Zira, but it doesn't make sense. It says Sadcha, I think it's a mistake even in the Ridbaz. Because Sadcha is to include Ilanos in Peah. So Sadcha comes to include. What is he saying? Forget it. Let's not do the Ridbaz. Scratch that. Rabbi Zira.
The fruit of the trees are perishable. Usually perishable.
Not the trees mentioned in our Mishnah. So Sodcha teaches us that there's certain types of trees which are chayiv in Peah. So Rabbi Zira says, "Ksiv lo tizracha karmecha kilayim, ikar karmecha lo tizra kilayim." It says you shouldn't plant your kerem kilayim, meaning that when you plant your kerem, you shouldn't put in zera. Well, it's not crossbreed. Well, it's putting into the same hole. In other words, by kilei zroim, kilei zroim forbids grafting. Forbids also grafting one tree in another tree. But it doesn't forbid, according to this Gemara, it doesn't forbid throwing two seeds of different types into a hole. By kilei kerem, though, it says lo sizra karmecha kilayim. What does that mean? Lo sizra karmecha kilayim? Even the seeds. No. Even the seeds. Zuriya. By trees, it says, it's you shouldn't have kilayim in your field, meaning graft. But by kerem, it says you shouldn't plant your field with kilayim, which means even the seeding of the field may not done with the kilayim. Okay? Says Amar Rabbi Yudan Kapukai said, Bo Kami Rabbi Yossi. They asked Rabbi Yossi a fun question. Tamon, I mean, over there they say, Zire Ilon Kuim Zoim. They say that the seeds of a tree are called trees. Where's that? Where are they called? They're called Zroim. Where's that? By Peah. By Peah, you say that a son is like Zroim, right? You're saying that you have to give Peah from your tree, just like you give Peah from your Zroim, right? So Tamona means Zira Ilan Kurim Zroim. The Katamar Zira Ilan Enon Kurim Zroim. Yet at the same time, you're saying you're allowed to plant trees with grapes. What are you not allowed to plant with grapes? Wheat, barley, grains. It's a contradiction. Again, by Peah, the halacha is you have to give Peah even from trees. So it sounds like trees are types of zloim. By kilayim, you're not allowed to plant grape pits with what? Only with grain. Rabbi say, if you have a vineyard which is intermingled with an orchard, that's okay. That's not kilayim. It's not a problem. So it's a contradiction. What are trees? Are trees roim or aren't they roim? If there's roim, then I understand where they're chayiv and pay, but why don't they make kilei kerem? If they can make kilei, if they're not roim, then I understand why they can't make kilei kerem. But why do they generate a chiv of pay? So it says the Gemara, Amar Le, so he said, no, it's not comparable. Tamun mi'eta kosuv. There, the pasuk excludes them by kilei kerem. Shein derech b'nei adam liyos korin osam zroim. People don't call trees seeds. What are called seeds? Grains, not trees. They're never called zroim. So that's why when we're talking about lo sizra karmecha kilayim, what's excluded from lo sizra karmecha kilayim? What makes kilei kerem? Only grains. However, biram hacha, but here riba kosuv. Here the pasuk includes them. Now,
so this is saying that we're basing a din d'oraisa based upon how people talk.
no. Yeah. Sure. Different lashon b'nei adam is a principle all over.
Different lashon b'nei adam. That used the term in halachic sense?
Of course. We always look at what people.
No, that's used in a theological sense.
No. So what's the difference? Anything. I don't think there's any difference. Anyway, that's Yerushalmi saying. Maybe you can make a case that we've never seen it before. That's what it says. What can I do? Shame b'derech b'nei adam lios karnos of zroim. That's what I say. Yeah, but no, but the Dorim Halachach Haloshim B'nei Adam is not, is how to figure out its intent, not what the Torah is saying. But here it's saying even the Torah goes by Loshim B'nei Adam. Okay, maybe it is a big chiddush, but hey, that's what it says here. But the thing is, the Gemara here throws in all of a sudden out of left field a very interesting thing. And the Ridbaz takes this whole line out. The Rebbe says, "Al kol zera zarua sheyitzareh." We not only do we have by sodcha that sodcha is marbe peah by even by trees. That's easy. But it says, well, I'll tell you the truth is, and again the Rebbe takes us out, but it makes sense. The truth is, there's even a place where trees are called zera. Where is that? By hechsher. What's hechsher? What's hechsher, Yankel?
Making it, somebody's gonna make it kosher.
No. Make it suitable to be makabel tumah. When you make something moist, to make it suitable to makabel tumah. So there, it's there. Even fruit, obviously, you make apples, you make them moist, they can be makabel tumah. That's learned because there, the word which is used is zera. So the Gemara is asking, how do we know that that's the case as well? L'chera there, it shouldn't include fruit because fruit comes from trees. There it says the Gemara, riba akosiv, there's excess verbiage. Now, again, the Ritbaz and the Bramhacha, riba akosiv, period. Because we're going back on the Sadcha, which it says by Peah. And we're saying that by us, there's a riboy. Here, however, the way the Gemara is written to me, it comes out left and says, Bramhacha, riba akosiv, akol zera zarua sheizoreh. It says that by hechsher mayim even applies to trees and their produce. Why? It says there's zera and people don't call trees zera. Yeah, but look at how many extra words there are here. Could have said al kol zera. It says al kol zera is zarua sheizoreh. At the very least, we can include trees. I will stop here for today. We did 2.5 hours.
Last 2 minutes here.
Last 2 minutes is tell us that trees are called zera in the Torah. They're not called zera in the Torah. They're not called zera, except in one place where they called zera by hechsher mayim. Otherwise, whenever you say zera, it means grains. That's why by Kilei Karen the prohibition is planting grain and grapes together, not trees and grapes. Why is a field of trees an orchard? Why is it chayv and peah? Because the pasuk of Sadcha. That's all we said till now. Okay? Have a good evening.
The orchard and that, it's okay.